Hi everyone, it's Laura from Hyperstamper, and this is another one, number 3 of 10 this week for my antique junk journals. And it is the week of July 14th, so you're going to see 10 go up this week. This particular junk journal was put on a 1935 book called Salamina, and it's got a lovely spine, so I left the spine somewhat uncovered, but the front was just completely plain. So I decided to put antique ephemera on top of it to give it a boost. This is something I have had a hard time parting with, but it's been so many years and I think it's time for it to find a new home. And this one is a 1925 print by George Oyston, and it is in the original matte with the print near lane and bucks. So you can look that up. It's a lovely, lovely print, and it is as vibrant as it looks on camera. And I just decorated the edges with some vintage doilies on the side here and a little bit on the back as well. So let's take a look through the inside of this beautiful journal. This even here was a sort of a bookmark ribbon in one of my antique books. So even that is old. All of the pages in here are antique and vintage ephemera, and the only ones that are not are the ones that I tea dyed, so that just to give you some extra journaling space. I left the original inscription in here from 1940. I think it's always fun to leave that in. And this is in pencil. This book costs $30. However, I'm going to try to remember to erase that before it goes out. So I just noticed it now. Sorry about that. Some of the original pages of the book Salamina here. And there's the publishing date here, and a lovely image with more space on the back for you to journal on. I made this pocket out of an antique encyclopedia page. A little piece of doily here, and this is a lovely stereoscope pic from 1899. It says "Little Lovers." Isn't that sweet? And that would have been a 3D image using the stereoscope. I'm going to put that back in the little pocket that I made, and behind the pocket I have slipped in a 1926 ledger page for more journaling space, and all of that is still on one of the original pages from the book here. On the flip side, another pocket here, and this is a vintage recipe page with an advertisement on the back for a roto tray dishwasher, and that's from the 50s. And that's going to go back into its little pocket, and behind it you're going to see a nice 1950s advertisement from a craft magazine. Oh, this is oh my gosh, this is a cool one. So this has all of the gas companies from back in the day. Look how wonderful that is. And yes, this is a cigarette ad, and I know that's horrible, but you have to remember this was okay back in the day. And the images are great. It's a little cheeky, and if you don't like it, then just don't use it, or tear pieces from the other side and use them by pasting it down. I think it's pretty hilarious, just how far we have come from those advertisements. Did some hand stamping on my tea dye pages here, and I made a nice little pocket here out of a 1920s music sheet, which somebody has written on. I guess that was the date of their lessons, which I kind of think is very cool. And this lovely, lovely postcard from the, I would say, 1910 to 1915. And that is a 1970s receipt, blank. And I glued that one down because it does have carbon on the back, and I didn't want to have it muck up any of your other pages. It's mounted on top of this vintage atlas page. And here, I have a few of these left, so this journal gets to own this cute little paper doll. It's a costume. How cute is that? Little gypsy costume. And it's in a vintage glassine stamp envelope. I'm going to tuck that in here, and that's also on an antique book page. And I hand stamped just the word thankful there onto antique paper, because that is what I use my journals for, as a gratitude journal. This is a late 1800s book page, The Vicar of St. Clement's. And this is a wonderful accounting ledger page from 1930 in the old pen and ink. Isn't that lovely? And to be followed by a very cheesy recipe page spread in full color. And again, I love these old recipe spreads. When I run out of them, I'll be very sad. So there's the flip side of that wonderful accounting ledger page. This is just a little flip up here for you to do some more journaling on, using some antique book pages and a vintage stamp from the 70s. And this is a real treat. I accidentally broke the corner, so I tried to glue it back on because it is so brittle. It is from 1884, May the 13th, 1884. And this would have been an account. Let's see, dear sir, this card in hand. So it's sort of a please pay your bill kind of postcard. You can see the date 1884 up there as well. Some vintage stamps up here and some handmade paper that has been infused with wildflowers. That is not antique. It's just so beautiful and special. So I wanted to put some of it in a few of my journals. I only have a bit of it. This is actually a school book page, and it just happens to have a little song in it. And this is a vintage canasta scorecard that you can journal on. And I flipped it into a pocket made out of another antique journal page. And this is a early 1900s flower book, how to make a flower garden. And this is actually, this journal has some of the best images from that book. Look at these. How wonderful is that? Isn't that lovely? Oh, I just love them. And inside here, this is that 1930 book from Designed for Living, the Blue Book of Interior Decoration. And this one is, look at that. How funky is that? Very Art Deco, very, it's spectacular, this image. It would have been so modern for the 30s. And just more hand stamping here. So I just love that. And again, getting down to the last few, but here is that full page magazine spread from the 1893 family magazine, Demarists. Isn't that amazing? And then a story on the back. This is from May 1893. I love it. So yes, it is brittle, so do be careful with it if you are the owner of this journal, and enjoy it, please. That came from a title of a title page from a book, antique book. Same with this one, The Magic of Imagination. And in here, I am going to slip in a little present for you when you order this book. It'll either be a postcard from the state or province you're from, or something that's special to you, something with your birth date on it. You just have to let me know at checkout on my Etsy page what you would like in there. There's another flip side of that beautiful handmade paper. 1930s music sheet, song sheet. And this is also an encyclopedia page. And on this side of it, we've got some wonderful maps of North America. And this is a vintage pattern. And you'll see the flip side here, a Butterx pattern, little children's clothes. And I love this ruler at the top as well. And I have turned it into a pocket on both ends. This was a greeting card that I guess they had cut up to reuse the image on. They reused their cards often. They would just keep cutting it down and down until there was just the image left, which I think is great. I wish people did that now. And this is a wonderful page from Mother Goose book in the 1920s. And there's the other side of that wonderful vintage pattern pouch. And inside here, I've put in a 1950s receipt that you can journal on as well. And there's just more of those lovely maps from that encyclopedia page. And more of that song page. Sleep, Baby, Sleep. Isn't that pretty? I love it. And just some clusters and hand stamping I did for this page. And some more hand stamping here. This is a pocket that I made out of a doily. And I put in here an early 1900s page that has a poem on both sides. It was a poetry book. And some more of that accounting ledger paper. That's a blank piece, so that's nice to have. And it is mounted on top of a 1945 Theater Arts magazine. And there's some great ads here that you'll have fun looking at. And on the opposite side is a page from the 1904 book Freckles. And look at the great dragonfly images up there. They knew how to do books right back in the day. This is just a little booklet I made out of some of my scrap paper. So you can just journal on there and slip that right into there. And this is another one of those antique books. This one was on horses. Look at how pretty this is. It's very, very delicate. I would go far as to say brittle. So do be careful, but it's just lovely. Look at this little boy on this Shetland pony. Oh, I'm just in love with that. And over here, this little tiny page here was from a script book from 1884, I want to say. And behind here is a page from How to Dance, ballroom dancing book. Isn't that fun? Oh my, I just love it. Love it. And there's more of those advertisements there. And the rest of that doily and theater arts page. And at the very back here, we have an envelope made out of a partially blank antique book page from the 1937 book on the Indigenous author Pauline Johnson's poems. And I love that the very last thing in the book is goodbye. Isn't that fun? And just a 1907 newspaper clipping here. And the end of the book also, the end, and that's from the original book, Salamina. So I hope you enjoy that. If you're interested in that and the dozens of other handmade journals I've made, please visit my Etsy page at etsy.com/shop/hypersimper. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get first crack at all of my journals that I post here and then on Etsy. Bye for now.